going to record here. Setting up meeting, done, redirecting, and here we go. Hi, folks. Hey, welcome aboard, everybody. A special video edition of the Fact Hunter podcast on this Thursday afternoon. It's September 1st. Hard to believe it's September already. Let's first introduce where it's after 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much for getting up nice and early for us. It's Kayla from Australia. How you doing, young lady? Good to see you.
Nice to see you too, George. I'm well and very tired, but so excited to be here.
All right. And of course, our very special guest today is Mr. David Weiss, and he hails from the East Coast of the United States, where he was born and raised. He began his flat earth journey where he left his very lucrative corporate job, started his own company. As a hobby, he hosted his own conspiracy comedy show at a New York City comedy club for 3 years. And after many fans urged him to look at what he considered to be a ridiculous notion called flat earth, he sought out to disprove this conspiracy and put it to bed once and for all. And several years later, he has his own app and he's spreading the word, on flat earth. And he's been on really some notable guest appearances on InfoWars, Talk is Jericho, and of course, Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat, among many other. Please help me welcome the one and only David Weiss. Hey, how are you doing, Dave?
Hey, thanks for having me. So I take it you guys are flat earthers. I wasn't sure.
my wife, I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead, Kayla.
I was just going to say, definitely not heliocentric.
That's for sure. You know, I don't require people to be flat earthers because flat isn't a description of a shape. It's a description of level and horizontal. And that's what we are. So, do I know what this world is? No, I've got some ideas, but we all, no matter what your view of flat earth is, we all know it's not a spinning ball flying in a space vacuum.
Yeah, spot on. I go fishing 2-3 times a week, and every time I sit beside the lake, everything is perfectly still. Water on a ball, if it had that much gravity to hold water down, how are the clouds still floating about? These are the type of things that I question. But there's 2 things I got to start with before we delve into some questions. Number one is, why do those 2 words, flat earth, set so many people off? And the reason I say that is, I think if you polled the truth community, I would say upwards of 75% at a minimum believe that the moon landing was fake or staged, however you want to put it. If they lied about the greatest achievement of mankind, why would you even, what's the catch there? Why do people so freaked out over flat earth?
We've been trained to, everybody has the same program responses. You bring up flat earth, they're like, how come no one's seen the edge? Or, I could drink I don't feel the curvature in an airplane. I see the curvature from an airplane. Seasons, we taught that this tilt of the ball causes seasons. But when you really look at it, when you look at, hey, the North Star, it's how far is it? 433 light years. They're like, oh, that sounds reasonable. It's not reasonable. A light hour is not reasonable. Okay, a light hour is not reasonable. Right? And people don't understand, big numbers. We were taught to memorize, regurgitate, and if you did it really well, you become the teacher. And we're taught to laugh at the programming. Hats off to the Rockefeller funded, school system. They've really got people. When you mention flat Earth, I tell people, go to an 11-year-old boy or girl and go, hey, guess what? The Earth is flat. Kid'll chop your head off. He'll throw you at so many facts, so many points at you. They're so indoctrinated that your whole life is built around that view. And it's only when you try to debunk flat Earth, right? But most people are trained not to look at it, to refuse to look at it. So I was all over the place on that rant, but there you go.
Sorry, George. I asked my 6-year-old yesterday, because we talk about everything. And I asked him yesterday, I was like, hey, what happens when you spin a ball with water on the outside of it? And he just looked at me and he goes, it comes off. I was just like, exactly.
Think about this. The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Those oceans should bulge at the equator. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the high priest of scientism, says that it does, 14 miles high, right? 14 miles high? That's higher than Mount Everest. Okay, that's what he says, that it bulges at the equator is 14 miles high. So my question is, where's a good viewing spot to see that 14-mile high mountain? And when you're in an airplane cruising at cruising altitude of 5 miles high, at like if I'm flying from North America to South America, at what point do I triple my altitude to skim over a hump of water? Okay.
When they're not self-correcting for the 1 degree turn.
Yeah. and it's just like the problem is when you look into flat Earth and you start thinking and using the 90% of your brain that they tell you that you don't need, that you don't use. That's what they teach you in school. You only use 10% of your brain. When you start doing that, your ego goes, wait a minute. The stuff I believe, what you're telling me now is going to make me look like such an idiot. I don't want to look at this, right? Because all of us that looked into it, we look back and go, how the hell did we ever believe that nonsense, right? But the brainwashing is so strong. It's so strong. It's mind-blowing to watch. And, we all like waking people up because it's unplugging them from the matrix. The matrix is a prison for your mind. Well, what's a prison for your mind? The globe, right? Your thoughts create your reality. Those wizards that are running this world that we call the elite, they're getting us to use our thoughts to create the world that they want. They're getting us with predictive programming and all these events to focus on this stuff, send that energy out there, when in reality, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be sending our energy to where we want this world to be, right? The only power anyone has over you is in your imagination, right? Any of it. And once you start realizing this and taking it into your life and practicing it, you unplug from that matrix. You stop giving them power. If we stop playing on their globe monopoly board and stop using their stupid monopoly money, they're finished. They're done. It's over.
Yeah, very wise words. And by the way, obviously on YouTube, you want to keep away from certain subjects, but exactly what you were just talking about, if people would have learned over the past 2.5 years, don't let them control your life. Don't let them tell you what to do. Nobody's forcing anything upon you. The words, I had no choice, don't exist. And,
right.
Sometime I can tell you firsthand how my wife lost her job because she refused to roll up her sleeve. She's a RN and she said, nope, no dice. We persevered. We're still going.
Good for you. Good for you. You're the real heroes are the people that stood up. I've never put on a mask. I did once to get into a hospital. My daughter had an accident and I wore a bandana. So once, here's something funny. All these wars, we're Russia, enemy, China, bad guy, all of these countries, we're all at war, right? Wars are all a put up, okay? All of these countries, except there might be some like little countries that do some stupid things, right? But they're all in it together, right? That's hard for many people to write. What about the Cold War? Like how many battles of the Cold War were there? Okay, there was none, 0, okay? But everyone's fighting over this, fighting over that, resources this, resources that, and like our gas prices are $6-7 a gallon, and we're sending oil and gas to other countries, okay? And so we can import theirs. That never made any sense to me, right? So there's 2 things that all of the countries in the world agree upon. Everybody needs to do this, and nobody can go to Antarctica unsupervised. Yes. Okay? What the hell is up with that? That. Yeah. And so, like, people, wait a minute. There's 100 different companies you could book a trip to Antarctica. First, they price it out of most people's range. Minimum is like 10 grand, I think. And then 10 to 50 grand to go there for 3 days on a boat where you just go to this little outer island. Okay? And that's it. They don't let you go explore. They don't let you go to the outer lands. They don't let you go look at what's really, going on out there.
So let me ask you this. Is that because A, they don't want you to see the firmament, or B, do you think there's maybe land beyond the ice wall?
Oh, I'm a big fan of land beyond the ice wall, but hey, hear me out. There's tons of evidence and testimony, but that's not proof. Okay. Right. There's stories, like the Iron Republic and the Smoky God and all of these other books that ring true. But, we can't say for sure. I would bet my life on it. But until we want the right to go explore, right? We want the
Yes.
right to go explore beyond Antarctica, right? So,
have you done the research? How much money would you need to raise in order to get the supplies, the resources, the equipment, the boat, and who ultimately has to give you the permission? NATO, United Nations?
well, no, there, you know, you get permission from one country and the other, then you have to get it from another country. The Globies that will say, "Oh, you don't understand the Antarctic Treaty. Anyone can go there, right?" No, we had one of our researchers who's an amazing lawyer. He did all the research. He pulled it all together. I could never have pulled this together. And there's a video. It's in my app under Antarctica. It's called "Sorry, Antarctica's Closed," and it's a 30-minute video showing you what you would need to do to go to Antarctica on your own expedition. It'll cost you between $200,000 and $2 million in friggin' permits, right? They will deny you and they keep the money.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Right. And this ring here represents, this pink line represents 60 degrees south, which is still, Antarctica is out of sight. You can't even get there. Okay. But no one's allowed to cross there. And if you do, you get accosted by warships, right? They will stop you. There was I don't know if you guys saw it in the next level, but here is this it? These guys, these fishermen, they went, and I'll just fast forward, and they went, and all of a sudden, boom, a warship shows up. And it hails them, and it's like, "You are in restricted waters. Get out of here. We must protect the penguins. We must protect the pristine ice. But go, turn around and go deforest the Amazon and kill, lions and everything. But don't go near the ice." Oh, look, the Earth is a globe. I'm sorry. I've retracted everything I've ever said.
Fish Islands.
No, that's curvature. It's curvature. I can't see the bottom of the boat.
What
it's that 14-mile wall.
Yeah.
What country was that ship from?
Pardon me?
Australia.
That was Australian?
They were Australian men, yeah. And
wow.
that was the Australian
Those bloody
Navy.
Australians. Bloody Australians. Yeah. Right. I should flip it upside down now that I know it's Australia. I wasn't sure. Right. And let me ask you a question. So once upon a time, there was nothing, and it exploded and became everything. That's a cool story. And then some rocks bumped into each other, and they stayed together. And because they had more mass, they pulled in some other rocks. And then more and more rocks started pulling together. And as it got bigger, it got more and more gravity. And it cleaned up all of the rocks that were floating from the Big Bang of nothing. Okay. And then all of the gases at the Big Bang of nothing, they decided to stick to each other and create gravity. And they got so big that they became nuclear furnaces because they collapsed upon themselves, right? And they left a vacuum in between the rocky balls and the gassy balls burning in the vacuum, which makes just a lot of sense. Just go with it, okay? So gravity, because of mass, pulls you to the center of the Earth. So let's break it down into small pieces. Let's break it down into atoms. Is there an atom at the center of the Earth going, "I am at the center. Everyone come to me"? What about another atom that's halfway between the center and halfway between the surface? Doesn't he say, "No, I am the center. Everybody come towards me"? Wouldn't they be pulling you in all different directions? Gravity magically can find the exact center of this lumpy sphere. Okay. Give me a freaking break. Gravity is the dumbest thing ever, but people just want to believe it. They want to believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so heavy.
Gravity, it's a heavy topic, right? They don't want to deal with buoyancy and density, right? They don't want to deal with that. Gravity, everything's going down, and I could hold ships upside down, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, right? This is going on in Australia, okay? But for you, this is going on here in the north, okay? Because I'm upside down and you're not on your spinning ball that water doesn't bulge to the side, that's adjacent to a vacuum. We got a rock surrounded by water that's held down by gravity, that's holding on to the air, that's adjacent to a void. Okay? Can I say the word retarded on here? Because that's fucking retarded. All right? I try not to swear, but I can't help it sometimes. When you talk about the helio-nonsensical BS model, it is it's mind-blowing.
When you go to, like, for instance, I hadn't watched your videos in a minute. I've been so busy with the radio program and such, but I did come across, you did an interview recently with this Professor Dave guy, who, listen, I debate people all the time, and there's many people within the truth community. We have different ideals, but how do you deal with these people? I mean, that was one of the rudest people I've met.
So
when
people, so he is either paid or possessed. Either one is horrible, and he just strawmans us. He does these videos, and it's all strawman arguments, and he claims stuff that we don't claim, and all this stuff. And he calls himself a professor because he just likes. I could call myself Dr. Dave. I want you guys to refer to me as Dr. Dave for the rest of the show, okay? And he's not a professor, and he dropped out of college. He's a failed musician, and we had him. We got a clip where he admitted that he wasn't a professor, right? So damage control, he goes out and he says, "Oh, I actually hire scientists to show me to make sure this stuff is correct and show me this stuff, and then I just present it because I'm popular, right? Who are you hiring? What scientists are you hiding? It's all lies. He's out there to discredit. He's out there basically to keep humanity enslaved, which is horrible. I would hate to be him. It's so sad. But when I was asked to debate him on the Sean Atwood show, I was like, I don't do debates. It's because these people are useless. But sometimes it's worth talking to these people because people watching go, wow, that was stupid. And the deal was I can present my questions to him and then he would answer. All of that fell apart. Highly moderated. The whole thing fell apart. The hosts of the show were just complete blithering idiots. And he, would just go make faces while I'm talking and interrupt. And of course, Google serves this to you as the #1 hit when you hit flat Earth because they think that this is hurting. But there's three things that this does. One, a flat earther sees that and goes, yeah, that guy's just an idiot. And the person that would never look into flat Earth sees it and they go, why is this professor acting like such a tool? Then they send me an email and they go, hey, I'm not a flat earther, but why did he act like such a friggin' idiot? And that's when I have the opportunity to send them a little playlist. Here, watch these videos and then you'll understand. And what happens was these people that would never look into flat Earth, right? Email me back and go, holy crap, this is real. What else you got? Okay. And so that video alone, by Google serving it up front, is waking up the people that I could never reach. So God bless, is what it is.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny because he took the time to write another comment and pinned it to the top and said something to the effect, all you people who are calling me rude, I'm doing it because he's a shyster and trying to rip people off. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's ripping people off for $2.99.
Right. Go read the reviews on my app. People absolutely love it. It was $3. Everyone loved it. But then people are like, hey, can you add this? Can you add this? Can you add this? So I add all these features and the $3 was taking care of it. And then started adding stuff that actually costs per use, like messaging on the friend finder and some other things that require push notifications. And even the weather cost me. The weather cost me a ton of money, right? Like, a ton. But so I added a subscription. I was like, hey, if you want these extra features, you pay the subscription. Ready? $11 a year. $11 a year. Do you ever buy anybody a margarita?
Yeah, that's about $6.
Yeah, that's what, and that's leave $1 tip for the bartender, right? $10 for the margarita. So you're buying me a margarita, and that gives you a year of awesomeness. And it's about to get really better. The messaging. I don't know if you guys have used the friend finder on here. Have you used the friend finder?
My wife has. It's incredible how many people are on that right now. It's all over the world.
Yeah. So the friend finder here. Let's go to Australia. So I'll type in Australia. Australia. So we'll go to Australia. Zoom out a little bit. Here. Where are we? And so let that load. And these are all of the people that you can find around you. They're coming. It's just my internet's a little wonky. And then you can tap on a dot and you can see who they are. If they filled out a profile, you can message them. You can send out a group chat. Why is it not loading? Of course. You can send out a group chat. Very interesting. Well, let that go for a minute while I talk. And you can send out a group message, say, hey, I'm having a meetup. We did it in New York recently. 100 people showed up, or 80 people showed up. And it's a blast. And people are making new friends, finding jobs. People are finding new, significant others, having babies. There's people having babies on this thing. So
it's a dating app as well as a weather app.
It's becoming a dating app. I'll just do a world view right here for people.
A great way to find people.
Yeah, here we are in Australia. We got a good number of people here.
Other side.
Chuck it on the other side. Where?
Yeah, I'm in Western
Australia. All right.
Yeah.
We got some people. I got a group of people here. Look at all of them.
Look at us.
Yeah. So you can go out there and guess what? Here's the thing about this. The friend finder is the best thing ever, because you go out into the sea of NPCs and just lost people. How many of them, like you go to a party, there's 100 people there. How many of them could be a good friend? It's a small number, right? We're in a minority, but all of the dots on here, like let's look at the United States, all of these dots, every single one of those persons is a good candidate to be a best friend, if not, significant other. So there's a lot of people.
Look at it all.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning. It's just starting. And the messaging system right now is a little wonky, but literally I just got off a conference call. We're almost done. I'm thinking another week, maybe. Hope you're listening, Rampreet. And then we'll have a new messaging system which will be like iMessage on an iPhone, but better. You have groups. You'll be able to do all sorts of stuff. You'll be able to send out, polls. You'll be able to send out like invitations, check yes, check no, all sorts of amazing stuff. But, here we are. And people say, the Globers say, flat Earth is dying. Look, there's no searching for it on Google. Oh, yeah, they're searching for it, but people aren't searching for it because they know that Google feeds them garbage, right? Flat Earth is growing so fast, they are petrified because every single one of these dots knows that the nonsense for the last 2.5 years is nonsense. Every single one of these dots knows that, that the elite of this world, I hate using that word, they are not here for our best interests. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's not on.
Right.
One thing a lot of people don't know about you, which I should add, some people just think you just came in and started doing flat Earth. I've seen videos as far back as 2015 when you were breaking down the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, you saw my interview on Caravan of Midnight with PK.
Yeah,
that was. I'll admit that was mostly PK's work. Him and I worked together, but I'll give him 90% of the credit on that, maybe even 95. But we went on Caravan and we presented all the information, and John B. Wells had us on, and he wasn't so sure about it. But at the end, he literally was blown away so much that he goes, I want to make you honorary members of the Arc Midnight. That's the name of his show. Honorary members. So he did this little knighting ceremony. He knighted us Knights of the Arc Midnight, and the trolls ran with that. I'm a Freemason now. I've been knighted. It's like I was put on the wall of fame, and I've been taken off now because he hates flat Earth, and I tried to introduce him to flat Earth, and he just took me off the wall of fame. So that's kind of funny.
Flash in the pan. Hey, Kayla,
yeah.
I've always got questions. I've got so many questions, it hurts. I don't know where to start. I'll just interject whenever I can.
You start here at the frequently asked questions, and all of your questions are answered here. They're all there. They're all there. Good. Ask a question. I dare you.
Okay, so the shape of the Earth, right? So let's get over the fact that we believe that there's no such thing as a globe, right? We don't live on a globe. Now let's get to the interesting part and explore the world around us, right? What is your theory? What is your hope or thought towards like the outskirts? Like what have you found reference-wise, say in some, like, have you found any old writings or anything like that you want, like, that you've found in reference to the shape of the Earth? Like, I found lots and lots of references towards like a toroidal shape.
Yeah, there's so much. All the ancient teachings and stuff. Everyone, the whole world was flat Earth, until like the mid 1900s. People, wait a minute, what about Aristophanes 2,000 years ago? Made up story, nonsense. But in here, once you get back by all of Alex's conspiracy music guru's new books for kids, amazing. If you have kids, you need all of these books. Best teaching tools ever. But if you look down, the Iron Republic is one of my favorites. Have you read that or listened to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a great book. Now, that rings true to me. It rings true. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter, because in the late 1800s, they were talking about more land beyond Antarctica. Talk about more land beyond Antarctica. I mean, what?
There's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right. So quickly for the listeners, the story of the Iron Republic is a politician here, I think it was in New York, got tired of this, just all the nonsense, sold his house, sold everything, got a big ship and a crew, went to Antarctica, found some opening, and he ended up going through it. This channel didn't know what was happening, and maybe he went through here. Then he was lost at sea for a month or so, and then they finally found a land, and they found a city, and then like a boat came out and goes, "Hey, where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh, we're from America." It's like, "Well, this is the Iron Republic," and they're like, "Where's that?" He goes, "It's on the other side of the ice, about the same distance as America is." And then he went in, talked about this advanced society. He ended up staying there for years. He got married. Then his wife died, and he got distraught, and he got his ship back, and he went back, and he brought some evidence here back to Florida, wrote a series of articles about this. And here's something interesting. It was in Florida Magazine, right? You can't find a single copy of Florida Magazine anywhere. Okay. There's one PDF of one of the versions that you can find online, but you want to find, the second Time magazine, an old, the first Playboy, whatever. You want to find anything, you can find it on eBay somewhere. Everything is available somewhere for a price. You can put up $1 million reward and you're not going to find this magazine. They don't want you having these originals because this needs to be wiped out. Right. So again, do we have the proof? No. Are we lacking, the proof that it's where the evidence, I call it a preponderance of evidence. There's too much evidence to believe that, there's not extra land, extra territory, extraterrestrials. From where? Extraterrestrials from the outer space, the inner space, the outer space, right? And think about this. This is physically possible. Outer space above us in the heliocentric world is scientifically impossible.
Impossible.
It came from nothing. It turned into balls and gases, separated in a vacuum. They tell us the nebula is a big gassy thing that creates stars. Dust. It's made of dust and gas. Explain to me how you have dust and gas in a vacuum.
Just free floating.
Free floating dust and gas in a vacuum that's collapsing upon itself.
Nuclear style.
It's like talking about the plane that crashed in Shanksville. When you tell somebody, the 9/11 story about the plane that crashed in Shanksville, that the heroes, they took over the plane and it crashed at such a steep angle and so fast that the ground liquefied, swallowed the plane, and then re-solidified so deep that they can't ever dig it out. Right? You tell someone that, they go, "I don't believe that's the true story." Well, it's not a true story, but it's the official story.
Right.
Okay. So you tell a glober the official story about his globy world. They won't. They just don't believe it. And you guys have seen this map, right? So let's say we lived here, right? We have these outer lands and more outer lands. Well, then there's other ponds that all have their own suns. More ponds. And each pond 10, 20, 50,000 miles away, 100,000 miles away. Who cares? Okay. Nothing compared to astronomical distances. Again, scientifically, physically possible. And a small piece of the plane, you know what they call a small piece of the plane? A planete. A piece of the plane. A planete. Planet. A piece of the plane.
And this is why people that don't understand flat earth before they enter the subject get so aggressively angry and upset by being confronted. Like, even the potentiality of being confronted by that is terrifying to that ideal in their subconscious. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way it's been programmed. It's been programmed to be a scary thing to see this stuff, right? Like, I don't know. That's so definitive of cognitive dissonance. There are so many subjects these days where people are so desperately cognitively dissonant,
right?
That you wonder how they're alive even still. You know what I mean? Like, how do you decide to drink a bottle of water with that sort of dissonance? You know?
Right. Did they say, what about asteroids and the craters on the Earth?
Yes.
Did you guys see this space debris that supposedly fell out of the sky? Whether it's man-made, extraterrestrial, whatever. It landed in a sheep farm. Sheep farm, right? And it's stuck into the ground, right? This is what it came in at 15,000 miles an hour. How fast was that flight? Whatever flight number hit in Shanksville? How fast was that going? And the ground liquefied, swallowed that empty tin tube, and re-solidified. But this can't penetrate the ground at 15,000 miles an hour.
Kind of like the rocket that can't break through the firmament.
How fast could that plane have hit? 1,000 miles an hour? I doubt it. But let's say 3,000 miles an hour, just for fun. Okay, the wings would rip off at 3,000 miles an hour. Okay, but this happens. Okay, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? And people say, what about craters, right? Craters are there's a couple things. They're methane craters, they're geysers, right? And then when they dry up, they say, oh, they're meteor craters. These are geysers versus craters. Here's a crater, and this is a geyser. What's the difference?
It's full of water.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: that quote unquote meteor or whatever that hit, was it Russia or Siberia 5, 6, 7 years ago? What do you think that was?
I think that was a weapon shot from an airplane, shot from a military weapon, as a test, or just go, oh, let's give them another, let's give them something to talk about. Let's give them another distraction. I can argue over it all you want. So it came in, of course, some random cars had their cameras going, and and they captured it. And then it blew up before it hit the ground. There's no pieces, and some windows blew out. It always happens. Why do meteors, we live on a spinning ball, okay? We live on a spinning ball, right? And meteors are randomly going, why do they always hit in Russia, in northern Russia, okay? What the fuck is up with Russia, okay? Right? Give me a break. It's so stupid.
They box bears. They can take on the meteors, all right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're more magnetic. Maybe they've got like a more heavy gravity right there in the center of their land, where it just like sucks everything in like a black hole.
Yeah. And then, there's so many proofs of flat earth. People go, there's no proof of flat earth. There's a million proofs of globe earth. Opposite is true. Proofable, because I'm offering 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof, and I still have not given away 3 Bitcoins. Okay. And the only thing the Globers have is they go, stars, look at the stars, look at the movement of the stars. And I say, first, the optics of the sky are no way to prove the shape of the earth. But the other problem is the distances and brightnesses, right? The inverse square law. We're taught that when we look at a star, the star could have burned out 1 million years ago, but that light is still traveling to us. Light doesn't travel like when you throw a rock. It doesn't travel like that. Light spreads out, okay? Just like sound spreads out. If you were standing right here, you could hear me. But if you were a mile away, that sound spreads out, unaudible, right? Because it thins out. Light does the same thing. Not a theory. Get a box, get a small box, and put a little light in the middle of it. And then take a light meter and read the wall. It says, okay, let's say it says 5 lumens. Great. Now put it in a bigger box and read the wall again. It says, 1 lumen. Huh, interesting. Now take it out of the box and just let it light up the room and measure the wall. Oh, it says 1/16 of a lumen. Okay. And now put it in a gymnasium and you test the wall. It's like, I don't know. I still read something. Now put it in an arena and then put it in, in a box, 100 miles wide, forget it. You lost it. It's gone. The light just stops. Okay. The light stops. So the idea that we can see Polaris with our naked eye here in the inner north is ridiculous. We can see it, but it can't be a star 48 times bigger than our sun. 48 times bigger than our sun. So if it was 48 times farther than our sun, it would be the size of our sun, just like our sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, 400 times farther. So they look the same. So that's something that they claim, that is kind of provable. So if we made the Polaris 48 times farther, it would be the same size. Well, we can prove that, our sun is the size of a coin held at arm's length. It's gigantic if it was right next to us. It would fill the whole sky. If we doubled the distance, it would be too small to see. If we made it 8 times as far, its magnitude's too small for our eye to see, ignoring the brightness issue. Our brightness, every time you double the distance of something, it's a quarter of the brightness. So we can scientifically prove that the angular size of the sun, excluding the brightness, is too small at 8 times the distance. 8 times the distance of our sun is 1 light hour. So if Polaris was 48 light hours away, 2 light days, we couldn't see it. And how far is Polaris? It's not double that, 4 light days. It's not 8 light days. It's not 16 light days. It's not 64 light. It's 433 light years away. Okay. That is absolute and total nonsense. Absolute and total nonsense. And then the other thing is the optics of the sky. Can we go over a couple illusions, if you will? Right. So they tell us, well, everything's a sphere, right? It's a sphere, right? So is this the sun setting? Is this the moon? What do you think this is?
Train.
It's a train.
Oh yeah, it's a train.
It's a train. Well, you can see the tracks now, and it's coming now. Is that what shape is the light on that train?
Looks round.
Square.
Looks round, right?
Yeah.
It looks round, right? But as this train approaches us, we're going to notice. I'll just speed it up a little bit. Bam.
It's going to get bigger.
Bam. Here it comes. So watch what happens. So it looks like a sphere. It's pretty damn close. It looks like a sphere. But as it gets a little closer, all of a sudden our eyes can resolve it. It is not a sphere. Okay. Here it comes. And all of a sudden we see
The ones.
and it looked like one sphere. So when we look up at the lights in the sky and go, that looks like a sphere, you're crazy. Everything merges together and becomes a sphere. Everything becomes a sphere optically, right? And then when you want to talk about the way things move, right? Where's my other one? You want to talk about the way things move in the sky? You guys have seen. Here we go. Is that it? Oh, this is this is I got a light and I'm moving it straight across and it looks like it's rising inside this dome and setting. And then it never goes below because I'm just moving the light across at the same level. It just fades away. And then when I bring it back, you'll watch it rise up. It's making a big curve, but in reality, the light itself, the real light, the source of the light, is not making that curve. Okay. Right. So where are my? I was trying to find something for you, but here I'm going to show you a new illusion. This is crazy, which I saw. So I'll explain what's going on here. This is a wedge. It's drawn, right? This is shorter and this is longer, right? Now, this is actually spinning around. It's spinning in a circle, okay? But your eye can't see it. It looks like it's turning back and forth because our brain tells us that the things closer to us are bigger, but it's spinning, all right? So watch, this is where it gets crazy. So this guy has it. You can see that it's drawn in perspective, right? And so now he's going to put a pen with a piece of tape through the window, right? And your brain thinks it's a window, and he's just going to get it to balance there, and he's going to spin it. What do you think is going to happen? Because your brain thinks it's going like this, right? When in reality, it's spinning all the way around. But your brain is going to be able to see the pen spin around. Ready? This is going to blow your mind, right? So as it turns.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
That's amazing.
Unless you can touch it and measure it, you cannot claim you know what shape it is, how far it is, what size it is, any of that.
It's like the trick with the pen or whatever, when you like it makes it look like it's wobbling.
Right. This is worse than that, though. I mean, but you can see you can see the real shape of this thing, but it's spinning around. It's not waving back and forth.
That's insane. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's spinning around in a circle.
Illusion.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's spinning around in a circle, and your brain can't sort it out. Right?
That is phenomenal. Can you please send that clip? I need that. That is amazing. That is such a
remind me afterwards. I'll send you a video. And you know that these two tables are the same size, width, and dimension, right? Piece of paper on here, piece of paper on there. But your brain, even now that I showed you, can't sort it out.
Exactly.
Normally, you're shown an illusion and you could sort it out. Your brain can't sort this out. Same size.
Well, so I had this epiphany the other day, right? Because I talk about this stuff out loud all the time, and I've rocked a few people around me to the core, right? And one of the guys I know, he's an engineer, and he is super logical. He is so straight down the line, and he's been on it for probably about a year and a half. I don't let up. I never stop. And he's come to me in the last 6 weeks, and he's been like, you know what? I think you're right. And I'm like, it's not about being right. It's about being true. Right. But he did this thing where he was like, here's something for the Matrix. Right. So his truck that he drives is, say, like 1.5 meters wide. Right. If you go and measure a bus that holds like quadruple the amount of people with a center aisle in it, they're both the same width. How do you gain a whole extra row of seats and an aisle down the middle and still have the same width, the 1.5 meter width that a normal car would have? And yet you don't go over the lines on the road and things like that. It was just an interesting optical illusion. It's very
nice.
Similar. Very
so
similar
again,
to the tables.
Looking up into the sky and going, the moon looks round. You know, I think the moon is round, but I can't claim that it's round, right? I can't claim that it's a sphere. It could be round, right? It could be. Show your people this.
Do you think the moon? What do you think about the moon?
I think that it's the biggest mystery of all.
Yes.
I think the moon is insane mystery, right? For our spheres, you don't know how big they are until now you touch it, you have an idea. Okay, is this one flat or is this one a sphere or is it something else? It looks like a sphere, right? But it's not, it's flat. And this one, is that a sphere or is it flat? Right?
Yeah.
Cup. Okay?
That is so cool.
Again, unless you can touch it and measure it, you can't claim anything. But what we can do, as I talked about with Polaris, when someone goes, well, I could see Polaris from here and you can't see it from there. What does that prove? That proves that Polaris is not 433 million light years away. You wouldn't be able to see it from it. 433 light years, not million. You wouldn't be able to prove it. Right? What's a light year? The distance light travels in a year, right? 4.5 light years is 25 trillion miles. Okay.
What? That is so
4.5 light years is 20, but people don't understand how much a trillion is, right? Do you know how many seconds, how long a trillion seconds is?
No.
Trillion second?
1 trillion seconds.
36,000 years. I don't know.
31,000 years. You're the closest guess ever. Okay. 31,000 years. 1 trillion seconds. So imagine the US was in debt for $1 trillion and you're going to pay it off $1 every second, right? It would be 31,000 years before they finish paying it off. But we'd never be in debt $1 trillion. That's crazy.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. Could you imagine if we were in debt $1 trillion? It'd be unpayable.
Speaking of the moon, I know, and listen, there's things in God's creation that I think man will just never know. And it's our job to, this is what we do. We talk about it, we hypothesize, but what about eclipses?
Eclipses are very good. Eclipses, in my mind, prove the Earth is flat for sure. And people are like, wait a minute, eclipses prove that, all of these different things, that they told us they prove. They told us that they prove. But, the Seleninian eclipse where you can see the sun and the moon above the horizon and the shadow comes in from the top of the moon, that's, I don't think that could work. The other thing is, when you try to hold a basketball against the wall and put a spotlight on it, and it makes a nice shadow. Move it a foot away, it makes a nice bigger shadow. Move it 10 feet away, the shadow kind of fades out. It doesn't leave a sharp line, right? And move it 100 feet away, you won't even see the shadow. So how the hell do we have, when there's a solar eclipse, a 70-mile wide shadow that tracks across, the world? How do we have that?
They said so.
They said, right.
So here's my, this is a real eclipse that I filmed, a little hazy. And this is the eclipse that I created. So here's a real eclipse filmed. And we noticed this. What is this?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
What are those things?
This is a lens flare because it's moving, but this one isn't moving. It's locked to the sun. Okay. So at this time, the sun was eclipsed about this much, like 85%. But this is just so bright, it's blowing out the lens. But it is eclipsed that much. Okay. So why does this match? Why is this also eclipsed? And my answer is, this is the projector. This is the real source. The real source that's projecting the sun that we see. It's always there, but you can't see it because the sun's so bright. But during an eclipse, when the conditions are right, if you're in the right place, you can actually see the source. So no one's ever seen the moon, if it's the moon that's eclipsing it, come eclipse or depart. You can't see it here, but it's behind the sun that we see. Here's the real source. Here's the eclipse thing that's happening, but this is what we see. So you don't see the thing, you just see the eclipse. No one has ever seen the moon. It might be the moon, I don't know. Okay? So here it is again with a thinner sheet. And look, the eclipse is coming in. And look, right here, what's this? This is the projector behind the sheet. Does it match what we see in reality?
Oh,
sure does.
wow.
It sure does.
Wow. That's so cool.
Now
that's evidence. That's evidence.
That is
well,
evidence.
I don't know what it is of.
I have $1 in change in my pocket. What is it? Is it 4 quarters? Is it 10 dimes? Is it 5 dimes and 4 quarters? 2 quarters? Is it 100 pennies?
I get you.
There's plenty of answers, but the heliocentric model doesn't work, right? Doesn't work at all.
Doesn't provide them.
When you use a ball to cast a shadow on another ball, as it eclipses it, it comes in as an ellipse, it rounds out, and then it leaves as an ellipse. But that's not what we see during a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse, right? Yeah, that's not what we see. We see this perfect shadow come over. If it's a shadow, it's a dimming of some sorts. What else I have for that? Here is this is the Seleninian I was talking about. The observer sees the sun and the moon above, and the shadow comes in from the top. How could it be the Earth doing that? Right? How could it be the Earth? Here's the last eclipse that happened. I took this photo, right? Where it was kind of cloudy, but no one sees the moon. No one sees the moon. Why don't we see the moon during a total eclipse? The Earth shine should be lighting up the moon like a full moon lights up the Earth. Well, the Earth is 6 times bigger. I'd say a little more shiny with the oceans. Why doesn't it light up the moon during a total eclipse? It doesn't. No one's ever seen it. And the only thing Globers have ever done is Photoshop a moon on top of the sun and go, look, we got it right here. No one's been able to actually do that.
That's awesome. Can we talk about NASA for a little bit, because that's something that just I've seen so many videos exposing them for the frauds they are. Not to mention that their logo has a snake's, a serpent's tongue. And then I don't know if you caught all the numerology with the Artemis 1, their launch time that got scrubbed, obviously.
8:33 to 10:33.
Yeah, and I guess it apparently is 322 feet tall, which is skull and bones.
Of course, I didn't know that. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's right, and you can look that up for yourselves. Don't believe me, guys. And then I think the thrust was 88 million pounds of thrust. So 3 big numbers. Just they throw it in our face.
Right. So check out this video Jaron sent to me. So this is might not be about Artemis, but they're testing their tanks and they're talking about the problems they have. Ready? Watch this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. What
Oops.
the hell happened there? It popped. Right? You know my story, that I believe that these are helium blimps.
Well,
Wow, look at it. It's
not-
hollow.
And look at this. This is supposed to handle 17,000 miles an hour ripping through the atmosphere, and it's like a balloon. It's a balloon. I'm going to prove to you it's a balloon right now.
Isn't NASA the #1 consumer of helium?
And they own all of the major helium companies in the world.
I didn't know that.
So check this out. What is this?
Of course they do.
What is this?
Is that one of the rockets that come
This
off?
is the external tank on the space shuttle. Remember, it had the big
Right.
orange tank.
And they clip them.
And when it takes off, it goes upside down. Why does it go upside down?
Gravity.
Well, because
I'm just joking.
it's because the whole thing is a balloon. No one's on there. No one. What do you mean no one's on there? What about the Challenger astronauts? Okay, forget it. All right, we'll get into that in a moment. But here's the thing: is this falling back to Earth? The story is this 40,000-pound steel tank, 40,000 pounds empty, burns up and dissolves before it hits the Earth. Right, look how close the clouds are. Okay, is this falling or is it floating? All right, it gets worse. Guess who's filming this? They're filming it from a window on the space shuttle that's rocketing off into space. So it's going up at 17,000 miles an hour. This thing is falling down. And he's filming it? Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. On the app, there's a button called Rockets Are Balloons. Worth the price of the app just for that button. You watch that, your entire childhood is finished. Okay, all space is finished, right? But here's something that happened. I think it's on this video. There's a cloaked, for lack of a better word, craft that we think is a recovery craft that's going to go by. You're going to see it in a second. It might not be on this one. I'll show you on the app. It's easier. There it is. You see it?
There it
you
is.
See it?
Yep.
There it is. There it is. And we enhanced it, and it looks like some sort of craft that's there to recover this, right? But they're filming this on the way up. Think about that. Even if they were in a helicopter, that thing would just be gone. It'd be gone. It'd be gone in a second, right?
And if it was traveling at any high velocity speed, it would be pointing up.
Right. And the other thing is they say that it's going sideways at 17,000 miles an hour. That's why it's not falling, because it's going around the curvature of the Earth like a satellite. How could this thing go sideways in the atmosphere? The aerodynamics of that, the aerodynamics are absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Right. And look at this. This one, which one is this one? This one is this the wobble?
Man, now you say that, man.
Look at it. It's blowing around. It's a blimp. This is a blimp. This is a blimp, and this is a blimp.
Oh, wow,
too.
look at it. Oh,
It's
look
wobbling, right?
Look
4
at it.
million pounds. Right? So check this out. Okay. 4 million pounds this thing weighs at takeoff, right? So these jets are going to blow out, I would say superheated air, but let's just say blowing out air at over 17,000 miles an hour. These people are nowhere near there. It's just edited to make you think that they're there. They're so far away they can't even see it. Okay. But look at the fence that's right next to that. You ever see what a tornado does to a fence? Ties it in knots, rips the concrete out of the ground. That's 300 miles an hour of room temperature air. This fence should be atomized. Doesn't wobble. Doesn't go in there.
Yeah.
Now watch this. Watch. It goes up and then back down again. How does 4 million pounds go up and down? Okay. Right. And now look how slow it's going. Right. And it turns on its back. Why? Because the helium tank on this side is heavier than the balloon on this side. Okay. That's why it always goes upside down, backward. This is a light show. It's a balloon going up with some rocket assistance. It's going up. It goes out over the Bermuda Triangle and it crashes. Okay. But here's something that happens. They always tell us that once those solid boosters, the 2 boosters on the side are lit, there's no turning them off. Okay. Interesting. And then they get separated at some point. Now they're clearly still in the atmosphere because you can see this smoke trail, right? And by the way, did you see them zoom out? Right? Let me go back a little bit. As it's going up, they zoom out to make it look like it's moving away farther. They zoom back. Okay, this thing is barely moving, going, I'd say 30 miles an hour. Okay, it has to before those engines shut off. Now look, it's zooming out to make it look like it's going faster.
You're right. They are zooming out.
Just an optical illusion. Okay. And look at all this friggin' smoke. So they're still in the atmosphere. Then these explosive bolts blow off and they lets go of the 2 rocket boosters. Now those rocket boosters are still lit, right? And if I had sound on here, if you just Google a space shuttle launch, you'll see this video. You hear it at the exact same second that it happens. Well, it should be a minimum of 90 seconds later before you hear it. Okay. But here's the problem. Clearly still in the atmosphere. You can see the wind. You can see everything. When these things go off, look, they're going sideways. They're not getting, they should like sticking your arm out of a car. Stick your arm out of an airplane at 300, 400 miles an hour. It'll rip your arm off. These things are going sideways at thousands of miles an hour, faster than the SR-71 could go, right?
Oh, wow. Look at it.
Absolute and total, complete nonsense, right? Complete, total nonsense.
And again, it only gets up so far and it starts.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a cartoon at that point. Look, windy launch. Look, it's rocking like a bouncy house.
Wow, look at it.
All right. Right. Now think about this stuff. Think about this. A 747 cannot go as fast as the SR-71. The SR-71 could go Mach 3.2, 2,190 some odd miles an hour. Okay. Any faster, it starts ripping apart. This razor blade, aerodynamic. No, it's not painted because it gets so hot the paint would just burn off. This aerodynamic, something aerodynamic might not get as hot as something not aerodynamic. The paint would burn off. And it can't go faster than Mach 3.2. However, this hunk of junk, this garbage can that has PVC pipe going down and the connection on this thing is literally like a flat piece of metal, not even aerodynamic. None of this stuff. This thing is going Mach 33. Mach 33. There you go. 32,000 miles an hour. 22,000 miles an hour. Okay? In the atmosphere. This thing is going 10 times friggin' faster than this. And the paint doesn't come off. The aerodynamics. There's so many friggin' problems with this. Right? And then, but this all goes back to, well, what about Sarah Macaulay, whatever her name was, Christopher Macaulay, right? You guys know about the Challenger crew, right?
Yeah, they all had twins.
They all had twins, or 6 of them did. And twins are still alive. And the twins use their same name, right? And one of them, I think it was Dick Scobie, he had a company called Cows and Trees, and the logo was a cow flying through the air like a rocket ship, leaving a twirly smoky loop, which looks just like the Challenger smoky loop.
Of course.
Right? Problem is, none of them showed up at their siblings' funerals.
Really?
Think that's weird? A twin not showing up and speaking at your funeral? Don't you think every single one of them would have spoken at the funeral, let alone showed up?
Absolutely.
Not if they were those people.
This is a lie so big that people just go, I can't deal with it. Right? The problem is when you show someone's evidence so strong, their ego goes, I'm not looking at this because it's going to ruin everything I've ever believed in, and they rather live a lie, and that just makes them, in my mind, more of an NPC than human. You know, this is overwhelming evidence, scientifically provable, and we catch NASA fake. You guys have seen all the stuff they do, faking on the space station, hang them from wires, green screens, screw ups. Whether they do it on purpose, I go back and forth. Like maybe they are just that stupid, or maybe they're doing it on purpose to see who notices.
Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they just don't care.
Maybe they do it to make us argue. Maybe they do it just to make us argue over it, right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, yeah. Because that's their main one. Their number one goal is to make sure that none of us are cohesive enough with anything that we can work together to work this shit out.
Yeah. And this guy, no paint, pretty damn aerodynamic. This guy goes 10 times faster with a big blimp, tucked to it. Okay. And this thing is actually just a jet. It's got jet engines, and that's why it has jets escorting it in, so you don't hear the engines. So like, those engine noises were coming from the jets escorting it in. This is a plane. This is a friggin' modified jet.
Isn't don't they say the ISS, the International Space Station, don't they say it's going like 17 or 18,000 miles per hour?
17,500 miles an hour, but it's all relative. There's nothing, there's no air up there, so you wouldn't even notice that you're moving. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Just like we don't notice we're spinning.
Yeah. I mean, we could be spinning at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It doesn't matter because everything's relative. Right? But they don't understand. Spinning is changing your trajectory. You change your trajectory. People go, well, it's only look at the hour hand on a clock. That's moving twice as fast as the equator. Bullshit. That hour hand is circling around twice the angular speed, but that's not the difference. And the difference is, get a rock, get a weight on the end of a long string and get it spinning around, spin it, and then let the line out, and let it. You can go slower and slower and slower. The the farther out you get it, and it'll stay up in the air, right? And then at the same time, when you got that 20-foot thing spinning around and you're spinning and it's staying up in the air, get another weight on a 5-inch string and hold it and see if it goes out. It doesn't.
No.
It's that tangential, is that the word? Speed that matters. Okay. The world would explode if it was spinning at the speed that they tell us. You're still going on, like if you're on a merry-go-round, it's going around once a day, you barely notice you're moving. You fall asleep and you wake up and go, oh, look, I did move. Right. But expand that out to 24 miles wide. Now it's going a mile an hour, 24 miles in circumference. It's going a mile an hour. Okay. Now expand it out to 24,000 miles, right? That's the equator, 24,000, right? About that. Now it's going 1,000 miles an hour. Imagine you're sitting on a horse on the edge of that 24,000 mile circumference disc. Okay, you're going 1,000 miles an hour. You're moving off that tangent line at a mile a minute. You think you'd notice? You think you'd notice?
Speaking of that type of thing, one thing I definitely wanted to say was I back when I was in the military, I was in a Black Hawk unit, UH-60s helicopters. And I saw in the technical manuals, they teach the pilots, well, at least in the technical manual, it said to treat the Earth as flat, non-rotational. And
flat, non-rotating plane.
Yeah, that's it. And I've seen that on CIA documents and FBI documents on the internet. You can find it in the on the Internet Archive. Also, flight paths, I've traveled all around the world many times. When you see the map, and I'm always like, why is the flight going this way instead of going straight across? And then have pilots come out? Have you ever had any pilots come out and say, hey, I don't think this globe thing's for real, because there's got to be something about flying a planes and on a globe that why are the pilots always tipping their nose down, or what's the story with that? Pilots
have come out, astronauts have spoken out, but you don't hear from them. They all lose their jobs. There was a Polish astronaut that came out and said in an interview, someone asked him about flat Earth, and he goes, I think he said, the Earth is flat. No one's been to space, I could assure you, or something like that. And again, on the app, under are all pilots and scientists in on it. I believe the videos are in there. But there's tons of these documents, and they're slowly removing them from online, and they're getting harder and harder to find because they're just rewriting history. It's easy. It's easy. You can rewrite it really fast. You know, if you they just change the rules, change the story, and nobody remembers the past because they're like, oh no, that's what it said. You know, I think in a dozen years from now, people will say, oh no, we never went to the moon in the '60s. That's ridiculous. We went in the 2020s. The whole Artemis mission is nonsense. The problem is, they do a day launch. There's too many people with Nikon P1000s, and they're going to catch something. They're going to catch a screw up. I'm guessing that they're going to launch it at night, so no one can see what's actually going on. They could just see a nice fireworks display. Oh wow, it went to space. What are you going to say now, flat earthers? I'm going to say you're as dumb as a box of rocks. That's what I'm going to say.
Wow.
So you talk about Southern flights. So here's a question I have for you. Okay. If you, there we go. Let's clear that. Okay. So if you are on a ball, here's your ball. Equator's in the middle, northern hemisphere is on the top, southern hemisphere is on the bottom. And you could pick any two locations in the north, any two airports anywhere in the north, both the origin and the destination in the north. Would you ever need to go below the equator? Right? There's the equator. I want to go from here to there, or to here, or to here, or to here, or to here, or to here. Anywhere, would you ever need to go below the equator to get there?
Of course
if you
not.
lived on a globe. You're right. And no flight going from a northern airport to another northern airport ever crosses the equator. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
How about a southern flight from a southern airport to another southern airport? Would it ever need to go up above across the equator?
The southern. There's a lot more ocean in the southern hemisphere.
Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. On a ball, and you want to go from Australia,
Okay.
to Santiago,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
That would be the
stop
shortest
it.
trip right there.
Yeah.
Or Africa. Bam, shortest trip right there. Right? Why would you go up across the equator and then back down? And don't say, well, it's a long stretch of ocean, because there's plenty of long stretches of ocean. But many southern flights cross the equator multiple times. Right? So this one goes all the way up to Singal and then all the way back down here to Johannesburg. Why didn't it just cut across here?
No, because it's not flat.
It
It's got to
double-
flatten the map out.
So flatten the map, boom, makes a lot more sense now. Okay. And here's another one, right? This one goes all the way up to Los Angeles. Well, that's a pretty big stretch of ocean. Why don't you just go across here? Right? Why don't you go across here? Because look, bam, pretty much a straight line. Need some fuel. It's a long flight. Crosses twice. Why didn't it just stay on the bottom and just cut across there? I know you're not allowed to fly over Antarctica. We got to protect the ice and the penguins. Right? Here's another one. Again, up to Los Angeles. Now the Globies go, yeah, you don't run an airline. They got passengers up there. They got a hub up there. They got to trade planes, trade pilots. They got to pick up other passengers. Baloney. Okay. There's plenty of people that want to go to Lima, Peru to fill up an airplane and go, but it never does it. It goes up and down, almost doubling the distance. That's because it's a straight line. Now, the answer, the way to shut those Globies down right away is to look at the emergency landings. Okay. Many times someone's having a baby, someone's having a heart attack. They got to land the plane fast. Okay. So New York to Hawaii, they decided to go all the way up to Seattle. I think it's like about 1,000 miles out of the way.
Wow.
And they got there remarkably fast. Okay. Well, look, Seattle's right on that flight plan.
Wow.
Straight line. Well, that could just be a coincidence. Let's look at another one. Okay. Here's one. They went to Moscow. Look how far Moscow is. What is that? 1,500 miles?
Yeah.
Look, Moscow, right on the flight plan. Why is that? Right? What about this one? Dallas to Beijing, Calgary. That's a bit out of the way, don't you think? Right? Why to go to Calgary? Right? What the hell's going on? Calgary's right on the line. How many times does this have to happen? It happened 17 times, but when this book was made, 16 times. 16 emergency landings proving flat Earth. Now, don't believe this. This is a meme. We all grew up on memes. They showed us the meme of the section of the Earth and the molten magnet, okay, in the center. That's a meme. There's zero proof of it. There's actually proof that it's not the truth. This documents everything, the stories, the flight plans, the news articles, everything. And then you can see for yourself. This is available, by the way, on, I'm not showing you the book. Look at me, I'm pointing at nothing. It's available on lulu.com if you want the hardcover, or it's free online. There's a free PDF. Just Google 16 emergency landings, proving flat Earth PDF book. But I love the coffee table book because you put it on your table, it looks nice, and you have some friends over, you're having a drink, and you go do some stuff in the kitchen. They accidentally pick up the book, and you come back, they're flat earthers, right? Boom.
That's good stuff.
Hey, honey, I went to Dave's for dinner, and guess what? I'm a flat earther now.
When people start to research it, it's really
well. The problem is they start to research it. They Google flat Earth, and if they believe what Google serves them, they're ridiculous. That's why I created the app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It answers all your questions, and the challenge I give people is every day there's a new video. Click it right here and watch it for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, if you think that the Earth is still a globe, send me one proof, and you win 3 Bitcoins. But before you do, you have to hit the frequently asked questions button, and your question is probably answered there. But if it's not, send me your question, and I'll direct you to the best proof. Tons and tons of stuff. Great images, like when you're sitting with somebody talking to them, and they're like, "What do you mean the Earth is a pond?" And you could pull up and you could show them the extraterrestrial, extra land. And there's also, if you go way to the bottom, let it load because they just loaded it. Great memes. Some people have contributed some phenomenal memes. Here they come. And memes are a great way to teach people stuff because they look at it, they see stuff visually, they think, and it's a great way to do it. And then also the web button, tons of resources here. Okay, but here are my 2 favorite TikTokers. These guys kill it. Here are my interviews, all sorts of fun stuff on here.
And 2 things that I encourage people to check. Go ahead. Finish
rockets are blimps. Rockets are balloons. Careful. There goes your childhood if you click that button. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first, when I'm in Ocean City, my sister has a house down there, Northern Virginia. NASA has one of their launching pads there. I think it's called Langley Research Center, NASA Wallops Flight Facility, something like that. And I witnessed a rocket launch, and it's the same thing. It goes up and then it just starts to flatten out. And I did a podcast last year looking at the Bermuda Triangle, and that very much could be, that's where they drop these things off at for sure. But for all those who have never researched, I encourage people to take the time to research Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl, which was the 50s, I think, the late 50s, and they named it Fishbowl. So think about, what these people were trying to do with the firmament. And then, of course, Wernher von Braun, whether or not he was actually real or just another character on the world stage. What do you think the reason he put that on his headstone was? Was it him mocking God, or was that him kind of saying, hey, this is my way of, letting folks know what's going on my way out the door?
It's a great question. Like we brought over in Project Paperclip, we brought over Nazi rocket scientists. Well, there are no rocket scientists. It's a story. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's some people that say that the first what was our first astronaut in space? What's his name? I'm spacing on his name. Who was the first astronaut in space? You don't know, see, because it's fake and we don't care.
It's fake, yeah, because we don't care, yeah.
But
exactly.
the Yuri Gagarin, or whatever his name is, the first Russian guy in space, right. Same actor. Now, I hate playing this person's that person. They look the same. Their teeth are the same, right? Is it the same actor? Are they really like sticking that in our face? Is that some sort of ritual magic that they're doing, getting us to believe that these opposing forces are are the same thing.
That is
No.
Aleister Crowley 101.
Yeah. So they're doing all sorts of ritualistic stuff to us that most people don't even believe is a real thing. That's how they get away with it because they don't know. They don't know. And so I think the whole thing with his gravestone is just to get us screaming at each other because you talk to a normie, they don't know any of this stuff. They
Right.
don't care about us, flat earthers. Go ahead, let them be flat earthers because they care about because there's no change. Once we see it, we've unplugged from the system. We're done. Okay. They just want to keep everyone else in the system, right? We're just a little nuisance right now, but we're growing really fast, right? We're growing super fast. And if everybody does their job now, like imagine if every flat earther woke up one person a week, we wouldn't make it to the end of the year. It would be over. Okay. And this is something that there's so much passion in. You look at flat earthers, we're crazy. We're crazy with passion because once you see this is something you can never let go.
Yeah.
And because it affects everything. Like has there been a day in your life where you haven't thought about it? Have you ever been bored since you found out the earth was flat for even a second?
No.
Right. Are you losing sleep? Yes. Do you listen to YouTube videos? Do you listen to YouTube videos on 2x so you can listen to twice as many things? Yes. Okay. Right. Do you listen to two things at once while doing something, a third thing? Sometimes, like it's insane what we do because we're it's fascinating. This world is an amazing place, and we're supposed to be here with curiosity. But we're told, you only use 10% of your brain. You need to learn accounting, become an accountant. You need to work in the retail, in a corporation, and slave your life away and take medicines and die. Okay, that's what they want you to believe. But in reality, this world is amazing. What difference does it make, right? Well, the difference does it make is that they're taking all of our labor and they're making technologies that we'll never get to see. They're making us pay for fuel and heat and electricity and everything when we shouldn't have to pay for that at all. It's all free energy technology that they're hiding from us. They want us sick, scared, broke, and willing to obey anything. Obey anything. I'll stick that on my arm because I can keep my job.
Right.
Right? It's crazy.
Well, Tesla, he had free energy, and that's why he died broken, penniless in a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was transmitting free electricity, and they're like, there's no way to bill it. And they're like, all right, we got to shut that down quick. Because imagine if you didn't have to pay for electricity or fuel for your car. Would that free you up a little bit? Would that free up some of your time? Okay. Would that free up your goals in life? On what you think you can do? Imagine that. Imagine if you have to pay for those things.
As long as they have us in debt, they keep us on that, we're working all day and we don't have to think about these things.
Yep. So, and then they have us believing crazy stories of the past. None of it's true. They want us to believe in complete and total nonsense. So, they mock us, right? Space Force and Star Wars, whatever. Yeah. Right? What are they doing? Starfleet Command from Star Trek and Trump's Space Force. What are they doing?
Space Force just recently changed their website. They used to have a lot of symbology on their website, but I guess they saw people were catching on and they completely revamped their website about a week ago.
No, really, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, they're constantly listening to us and reacting to stuff that we do.
Yes.
We got them to move the horizon from, you can't see curvature. You can see it from an airplane. Now you can only see it from a fighter jet at 70,000 feet. And then now they say you can't see it at 120,000 feet. Okay. Well, when can you see it? Because we can't see it from 120,000 feet, but I can see a ship go over the horizon. Okay. With my naked eye. All right. What's wrong with people?
But that P900 changed the game around because you could bring things back into focus that were, I guess the thing is people can see too far. And that's a big argument versus what is it? 8?
That's the one that got me. 8 inches per mile squared actually is the accurate formula. Okay. It is. And they'll say, no, it's not. It's not. It's an approximation. You're right. there's a couple other formulas. 8 inches per mile squares gives the benefit to the ball. They underestimate the curvature. Okay, underestimates what it should be just by a little bit, by an insignificant amount. But we can see too far. That's what got me. I was zooming in on beaches and seeing people. They're like, I shouldn't be able to see them. I should be able to see that buoy. I should be able to see that building. Right? Just today, this morning, I was on a boat, and 26 miles away, I can see this building in almost all of its entirety. 26 miles away, it sticks up over the tree line. Amazing. Now, on a ball, as I get closer to it, I should see more of it, right?
Of course, yeah.
As I get closer to it, I see less of it. As I get farther away, I see more of it.
It's inverted.
No, what it is let's say you're sitting on the ground and there's a fence 5 feet tall, maybe 15 feet from you. That fence is clearly above your eye line. So if you got a nice flat stick and from your eyes rested it on top of that fence and extended it out farther, anything that's underneath that stick you cannot see because the fence is blocking your view, right? Anything below that is blocked by the fence because you're there, and so that stick is that's your horizon line. That's what you can see, but it's clearly over your head. So you have that, and as you move farther away, that angle becomes less and less. So the angle from the stick, across the flat plane to that thing, as you get farther away, it gets less and less and less and less. So it's lowering it and it's revealing my building more and more as I get farther away. But as I get closer, it's hiding the building more and more. And it's only when I get the last mile where that tree line that's blocking the building really starts to move above my head. But anything farther than a mile away, the tree line looks like it's at my eye level. The farther I go, it's still at my eye level. Farther I go, it's still at my eye level. It's only when I'm approaching it that last mile where those trees rise up and block things in the distance. You kind of have to see this because they don't teach you this in school. And I just realized this the other day. As I get farther away, I see more of the building. As I get closer, I see less. Even on a flat Earth, you would think it's the other way around.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's with a terrestrial blockage. Now we have celestial blockages. That's different too. And that's an atmospheric deck of opacity. Again, that's for another show because we're running way long.
We are running out of, and you've been very generous with your time. But number one, please check out stoplookthink.com because there's a lot of content on there other than the subject we're talking about today. There's all kind of 9/11,
easy.
The last 2.5 years and other things like that. So check that out. Anything left that you wanted to ask Dave?
Just flatearthdave.com. That's where my app is. And the app's $3. But if you want to be able to use the weather, which is a great weather app, if you want to be able to send messages, you can receive them. But if you want to send them, you want to have the ping feature, which I don't know if you noticed, it tells you every time somebody downloads the app, which is kind of fun. Like, another flat earthers join the team. And what's the other thing? Oh, and you want to view people's profiles or see or fill out a profile. You have to subscribe, and that's $11 a year. $11 a year.
There you go.
So, and it's all at flatearthdave.com. Easy to find on YouTube. Look, a new user. If you on Apple, it'll show right up. Type in flat E, it'll come right up. On Google, they're going to serve you a fake knockoff one by Globe Trolls that have the same name, and it's just horrible. But if you happen to buy their app, don't send me an email telling me my app sucks. Leave them a proper review on their app and tell people where they get the real app.
Well done.
flatearthdave.com. It's all there. Bam.
Awesome. Kayla, would you like any last closing comments?
Just thanks for sitting down and talking with us. It's just awesome to have a conversation, an open-ended conversation where everyone has sort of similar points of view. Now we can just kind of work out the crunks of it all. You know what I mean? Have fun with the ideas that we can have around it. I feel like that's the most important part of seeing through the bullshit that we get fed on a constant basis, is that like answering these questions. Okay, fine. We don't exist on a globe. That's amazing. Now let's ask the really cool questions. Like you said, Dave, let's get curious. Let's start finding out answers to these questions. I don't know, just do anything. Just do something interesting that makes the world go round, so to speak.
Right. You know? It's all fun to figure it out. Like, some flat earthers think this is it. No, other things is infinite plane, big dome, no dome. That's okay. We'll figure that out. But we all know it's not a spinning ball flying in an infinite space vacuum.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, you watch the trolls that are in your chat, that they will show up in your comments. They will comment on everyone's video, but they'll never offer a globe proof. They'll never offer. These guys are amazing. They find every one of my interviews before I even find that they're online. Like when I do a recorded show, like they're in there commenting. I'm like, can you notify me that the video's up? I'd appreciate that. Maybe I could hire some of them. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Set up an algorithm that pulls your name out of the system.
Yeah. Check out. I encourage people that are wondering about Antarctica, go to the Antarctica button, watch Sorry, Antarctica's closed, and then make up your own mind on what you think. You think Antarctica is accessible.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And I said from my very first episode, I'm going to broach every single subject. I will never try to influence my guest because I want them to present their case. And I always leave it up to my listener or my viewer in this case to make the decision for myself. But I still don't get to this day why it's such. Well, I do understand because I thought it was stupid too. For the I've gotten emails before, I guess from 2019 and before that, I used to just delete and move on with my life. But this is such a divisive topic, and we're in such a critical time in our nation's history. And I think this fall there's going to be a couple of let's just say flags of falseness that may be coming this fall with the major elections and stuff. So as a truth community, we need to come together and question everything.
Could be.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just thinking when you're talking to people and they say, look up at the sky to figure out the shape of the floor, look up at the lights in your ceiling to figure out the shape of the floor in your living room. Realize that you can't, none of that matters. Directions, where you can view them from doesn't matter because we can prove that they're not the sizes and distances that they tell us. Therefore, anything in the sky is no way to prove it's flat or a globe, okay? It's unusable, and that's all they have. Look up at the sky, look at the Southern Cross, look at the North Star, right? Well, the North Star and the Southern Cross actually prove that it's not a ball because they can be seen from opposite hemispheres, deep into the opposite hemispheres when the conditions are right. So that, if the heliocentric model was true, you shouldn't be able to see the Southern Cross from anywhere north of the equator, and the same thing vice versa for the North Star, but we can. Therefore, we know that the globe is a lie. What are stars? Where are they? We don't know. Okay?
There you go.
Yeah.
And again, you've been real generous with your time. Was there anything else you wanted to put out to the masses?
That is it right now. As you can see, my app just went down when they're working on the server, actually. So that is okay. It'll be back up in a few minutes.
Well, kudos to you because I have an app and all it does is stream my player, and I know how much work went into that. So kudos to you. My goodness.
I appreciate it. It's a lot of work. So I appreciate all the support. If you can subscribe, that helps me develop the app further. All of the money that the app generates goes right back into the app. And I'm trying to make it this, using their technology to bring us together because it's all about coming together. They want us apart. They don't want us, our heart energies connecting with each other because then we become way more powerful and they don't like that.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
One fight. And thanks to Kayla, it's 3:40 in the morning in Australia where she's at right now. So God bless you for that. And she is on Rumble at the Ancient Resistance Army, or are you still Ancient Mystique there? Okay.
The Ancient Resistance Army, yeah.
And then her Substack is also the Ancient Resistance Army. Any questions? either email at thefacthunter@mail.com or leave a message in the chat and I'll get you her information. And of course, Dave, thank you so much for your time and the energy that you put into the truth community. Best wishes to you and everyone else going forward, sir. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See ya.
All right. And
See you,
thanks,
Dave.